Hello, everyone. Thanks for checking in with Callie. Looks like now there's a former Clippers player taking a shot at the Clippers and or, possibly Kawhi Leonard. And you can add Paul George to the mix as well because he is, one of the best players on the team too. Kawhi, I look at basically, you could look at him 1A, 1B, first, second. It doesn't really matter. They're the two guys regardless. So, Marcus Morris was washed damn near to me in a lot of ways. He still had a little bit left in his game, looked like with the Clippers anyway. And now that he's on the Philadelphia 76ers, looked like he's way more rejuvenated. He's playing a lot better. I looked at a few games. His jump shot looked great. His bounce looked a little bit better. And, sometimes going to a new situation is what a player needs, especially when they feel like they've been deprived for a while or they feel like they've been, undermined or something like that in any type of way. And I know Marcus Morris felt some type of way when I think it was last year or something like that. He went from a starter to a bench player for the Clippers. And then, once he got traded, his whole mindset was, I'm so glad to be out of LA. But you heard me talk about in other videos prior to this one, way before now, that there were reports that he wanted out of LA. He wanted to play with his brother, I believe, on the Miami Heat or something like that at that time. And he just wanted out of LA. He wanted out of the Clippers organization because things just wasn't right for him and wasn't right for, his situation, totality all the way around. But now, if he's saying that, Joel Embiid is the best player he ever played with, is the best overall player he's ever played. We never played with a player like Joel Embiid, dominant, that plays every night, plays hard, basically play defense, offense, all that. And we all know for years the best two-way player in the league was Kawhi Leonard. And when he says he never played with a player dominant like Joel Embiid, I don't know how he really thinks that, because Kawhi is a dominant player. But the part where he said something about playing every night, being out on the floor, things like that. I've even said before, years ago, the load management, I don't like it, but I do believe that Kawhi was hurt. Kawhi doesn't try to not play games. I believe that there's always a few games in the season where, guys may, take off or something like that. But you could say that for any player. That's not really just Kawhi Leonard. It's just placed on Kawhi Leonard because of where he comes from in San Antonio, where they, predicated their NBA lifestyle on doing that. Now, of course, we all know, of course, he's speaking in reference of Kawhi Leonard, but he also could be talking about PG as well, because PG is a two-way player, and he's got injured as well. But more so, I think he's more so talking about Kawhi in the dominance and as a dominant player and all that type stuff. But regardless of what Marcus Morris says, he's an enemy at this point. He's not with the Clippers. He's not with them. He's far gone. And, sometimes I take things like this with a grain of salt as well, because, depending on how the question was asked to him and depending on how the person's tone was and how they said it and how he perceived it, maybe he answered it in a way where, it may have came off this way. But so like I said, a lot of times I take this with a grain of salt. But if he did mean anything towards Kawhi Leonard or anything like that, that's fine. That's fine. Because that's his opinion. But at the same time, he's talking about a dominant player in Joel Embiid who's never won a championship. He's talking about a dominant player in Joel Embiid who hasn't even made it to a finals. And he's talking about a dominant player in Joel Embiid who lost to Kawhi Leonard and the Toronto Raptors a few years ago in the 2019 playoffs, when Kawhi hit that shot and it went to a game 7 for Kawhi to hit the shot and end the series, where it looked like Philly really had the better team, but Kawhi was just the best player on the floor. And that's just no doubt. And, the crazy thing is, Joel Embiid really gives Kawhi Leonard a lot of praise. Ever since that 2019 playoffs, we've heard Joel Embiid say things like Kawhi is going to turn to Michael Jordan in the playoffs. We heard Joel Embiid say he wanted to play with Kawhi Leonard at some point in his career before Kawhi goes. We've heard him say these things. So for Marcus Morris to say these things, if he's trying to take subtle shots at Kawhi Leonard, it doesn't really make sense, because the dominant player you're talking about on the Philadelphia 76ers praises Kawhi Leonard. He actually wants to play with them. at some point in his career. So, I mean, and says and like I said, he made remarks about him turning to Michael Jordan in the playoffs, which I definitely agree with that. I mean, it definitely looked like that at times. It looked like Kawhi is just that dominant when playoff time comes. But of course, injuries have derailed him in, furthering his championship status or getting more rings, however you want to say it. And Marcus Morris just might be kind of like salty because he didn't win a ring as of yet. And he's on another team and he's trying to, make another run at it. But at the same time, if Marcus Morris played the way he was supposed to and didn't let Reggie Jackson take his spot in regards to being the third guy on the Clippers, maybe they would have went further. I mean, even that year Kawhi went down in the Utah series, they still had a good enough team to at least get to the finals. I'm not saying they would have won it against Giannis because I don't think they would have without Kawhi Leonard. But I'm saying you could at least made a finals with that team. Marcus Morris was on that team. He could have played a lot better. Look at the playoff games that he played, that Kawhi Leonard played in, along with Paul George, where he didn't show the hell up. He got paid $60 million and didn't look nowhere near like $60 million worth. He looked like $16 million worth the way he played in the playoffs. So they went out and got Reggie Jackson, and Reggie Jackson took that third guy role as in like the third scorer for the Clippers, and he took it and ran with it. And honestly, I mean, if you ask me, I personally think Reggie Jackson's a better player than Marcus Morris ever has been, or his brother. His brother, they were good wing players at one point with the Phoenix Suns when they first got drafted. They could knock down shots and play two-way. Don't get me wrong, but their game, it never really translated to the point where they can help a team win a championship. His brother was a part of a team that won a championship. Markieff Morris, he didn't really help the Lakers win the championship. You see what I'm saying? So it's not like their game is really built for helping you win championships. They could be a part of your team. Don't get me wrong. Their defense is good, all that. But in their prime, they didn't win anything. Markieff won one out of his prime when he's basically sitting on the bench and barely playing minutes. Marcus is still playing a lot of substantial minutes, but his gameplay doesn't translate to championship quality because he doesn't show up in the playoffs the way he does in the regular season. So maybe if he showed up in the playoffs, like I said, specifically that one year, I mean, they should have went to the finals. They could have went to the finals without Kawhi Leonard. I mean, they really could have. I mean, because, they was already there. I mean, they really were. They got past Utah because of Terrence Mann's 39-point game in which saved Paul George from piss poor struggling against Utah and, saved that legacy there. And they go on to the Suns. Paul George missed those 2 free throws that could have sent, that could have gave the Clippers another game and could have extended the series a little bit longer. And Marcus Morris really was playing average at best, pedestrian at best. So, I mean, it's no need talking about throwing shots at other players and things like that. If that's his direction he was going with that, there's no need throwing shots at other players because, first of all, you didn't play up to your level of standard, and you let a guy like Reggie Jackson come on the Clippers, who was out of the league, I think, at the time, and came on the Clippers and took that third guy role, which should have never happened because Reggie Jackson was making $22 million. You were making $60 million. So you definitely should have, been in that third spot. But you had a guy come off the street, basically out of the NBA. I think he was that time, making a whole lot less money and played a way better than you did. So it's really, it's no need to throw jabs or anything like that. Just play the best basketball you can on Philly. Try to get your one and only championship before you leave the NBA because Kawhi already has multiple championships. He really does. You know what I'm saying? Kawhi been to 3 finals in his career. You haven't been to any, I don't believe. I mean, maybe he has been to them, one or something like that, but he hasn't won a damn thing. I do know that. His brother, on the other hand, got a championship. So if any one of the twins should be talking, it should be the one that's got a ring, not the one that's ringless. And that's just my take on it. But leave any comments in the comment section. Let me know what you think, whether he was right or wrong, and we'll go from there.